How are you gonna make conclusions before you've even read the book? Hey guys, I'm at work, I'm a lifeguard, and it's pouring rain, so nobody's at the pool. I'm literally balancing this camera on a first aid kit right now. Thought right now would be the perfect time to sit down and do a little talking video. I haven't really done one of these yet, talking about like a specific topic, so this will be interesting. Can't wait. Today I wanted to talk about not letting your judgments rule your interactions with other people. This is something that has helped me make so many friends and connections since the 12th grade, and it's also others who have let their judgments rule their interactions with me that I'm no longer friends with. So let's start back in high school. High school is high school. Everybody's still trying to figure their shit out. You've got your popular kids, you've got your weird kids, you've got your in-between kids. I guess I'd consider myself to be an in-between kid, but realistically I was a loner. No, just a loner. I had a couple friends, didn't have a lot of real friends. Where I grew up, we had a large group of popular kids who all knew each other throughout the city. They all had over 1,000 followers on Instagram, they all played sports, etc. I'm not going to say what they were called because I don't want to give away my hometown, but it's like an abbreviation of the name and pops. So we'll call them Swirly Pops. It sounds just as stupid when you say it the proper way. It was essentially just a large group of kids who felt like they had to act a specific way to fit in or dim their own light just to be in this group of people. They didn't really have any interest in talking to anybody outside of their group or being kind to anyone, and I kept myself out of it because A, that's not my vibe, B, how are you supposed to find yourself if you're so focused on trying to be just like everyone else? If you grew up in the GTA, I'm sure you could spot one of them easily. High-waisted ripped jeans or leggings or Roots pants and a garage red tube top. It's the garage red tube top. If you know, you know. My school had uniforms, however, so I'll give you a physical representation of how you could tell. Okay, mind the wind. Okay, so we had a uniform and it was shorts, a polo tee, and all black shoes. But the popular kids got like gray, off gray, like ugly ripped sandal things because that's what was cool. And regardless of if they had these shoes or not, they would step on the back of them to like break the shoe because it was cool. And then they would take their shorts and hold them high up and walk like a freaking chicken. Like they would all walk like their legs were broken because that was the trend. Like this. Hold up, butt out. Oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh. I'm not even exaggerating. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them were really kind and I became good friends with them, but this wouldn't have happened if I had kept this perception of them in the forefront of my mind and had expected them to act a certain way. I might have been guarded, but this allowed me to fully be myself and attract the right people. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of friends up until the 12th grade. I was kind of an introvert, and that wasn't really by choice because I just felt like I hadn't found the right people where I'd lived. But when 12th grade came around, I started going to so many parties all over my city, and that opened up a lot of doors. I'd go up to anybody and talk to them, regardless of who it was, popular or not popular. And when you approach people with charisma and confidence and you're full of yourself and you're kind and you're open, people eat this right up. I made so many friends and acquaintances with people who appeared to be more standoffish at first, simply because I didn't let that hold me back. And in some environments, this didn't work. Sometimes you're in places where there's a lot of cliques, or you're in organized environments like camp or a club, and they're just not your people. and that's okay. University, of course, was a fresh start, and I went in with an understanding of this. There were the cliquey cool kids that gave me swirly pop vibes and seemed disinterested in anything that wasn't cool, but I never let myself approach them with this in mind. Or maybe it was in my mind, but I didn't let that get in the way. I would always meet them at their level or perhaps my own, being myself and confident in a conversation regardless of who they were or how they might respond. And this made me a lot of friends and acquaintances. It's like when you meet a celebrity and you're supposed to act normal. How do you do this? You remember that they're literally just humans. They have their own insecurities and emotions just like you. Regardless of the status that somebody has, or if they're popular or not, or whatever demographic they are, don't let this stop you ever from being authentic and kind. There are so many people who I wouldn't be friends with right now if I had let my ego or assumptions dictate how I approached them or responded to them. It's important to understand where your judgments come from. And a whole lot of them come from insecurities, closed-mindedness, and triggers / past experiences. And you gotta be real with yourself and heal before you start putting that onto other people. Sometimes you'll meet people who have something off about them or are mean-spirited, and this isn't really judgment, this is more just like observation, okay? But you need to let them cook before writing them off, because writing anybody off, in most case scenarios, is just immature. You don't know them. How are you gonna make conclusions before you've even read the book? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Remember that in most case scenarios, you're just seeing the front that people put on. And if they are rude or judgmental people, you have to understand that that comes from something. They are hurting, and they have a part of themselves that they haven't yet addressed. And that's not always up to you to deal with. Obviously, use your discernment, but nobody was born that way. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to shed the layers. Sometimes I love to entertain these people because when you respond to them with confidence and morality and kindness, you will watch their demeanor shift. It's incredible. And sometimes that's just how they are as people. And that can be really fun too, because you can learn so much from a conversation with them. Whether you agree with them, whether you disagree with them, you can just sit there and listen and learn from somebody else. And it is entirely up to you to get offended or upset. And this is mostly in the context of strangers, because you have to remember that they don't know you. Back in my Starbucks days, I had this coworker that a lot of people didn't like because he was very assertive, at times aggressive, and very confident. I honestly was scared to go into work sometimes, knowing that he was there, but by the end, he became my favorite because under those layers, he had a big heart, and he was so funny, and he was authentically himself without giving a fuck. So many people are intimidated by people who are confident and who have big personalities. The right people will appreciate it, and it's up to you to understand that, to understand yourself, and to be open to understanding other people. Because with that, you can learn so much. Without it, you're just bitter. How fun is that? Not very fun. With social media and through text messages, it is multiplied by 10,000. Go to an opinionated TikTok or just any TikTok, go through the comment section and find an opinionated comment. Think about what you gain from that message, what you think it's saying, what you think they're implying, and then read the responses and find an array of people who agree, who disagree, who maybe didn't understand what that person had originally said, who are making these judgments and who are projecting. Maybe you didn't even understand it the first time you read it, or you interpreted it differently. What we learn from this is that so many people's reactions come from misinformed perceptions. I had to deal with a person this year who every time I had texted them, they assumed the absolute worst out of everything that I had said. And this led to a plethora of arguments and so much judgment and criticism on their end. For example, there was a time when I had asked this person about a plan and what they wanted to do, said what I wanted to do, and I was met with an explosion of rage based purely on assumption and not fact. It was just paragraph after paragraph about how I'm inconsiderate, how I'm ignorant, how I'm not being communicative, all the while I'm trying to communicate. And in an effort to prevent any further anger, I responded to them, not reacted, there's a difference, with receipts, as much information as I could, and an apology if the text message wasn't worded the right way. You know, if it came across a specific way. And it didn't work. And you know why? It's because it really wasn't about me at all. This person was so insistent in putting me in my place because they felt that they had a lack of control and because of their own insecurities. And instead of taking a second to step back and reflect upon where all of these emotions are coming from, they just projected them right onto me. And I respect that they have these emotions, but it was not their place to be so insanely critical of me, especially when none of it was true. It was what they wanted to believe was true so that they could feel better about themselves. I try not to be judgmental of this person, even though they put me through hell. Do I think they're insecure? 100%. And they have to live with that. If this person hadn't assumed the absolute worst out of the situation, it would have gone from a million paragraphs trying to tear me apart to, hey, I don't really like this plan. Okay, man, let's ponder other options. And that would have been it. And sometimes you're gonna come across this too. I went out with a friend the other week who had ran into people with the same situations. Friends that just dropped her because she was this and that, and they didn't communicate that, and they wanted to assume the worst out of a situation without giving a chance to properly communicate it or to hear the other person out. This is why it's so important to leave room for understanding, y'all. You will be so much less bitter and sad if you open your heart to understanding and you stop taking shit so personally. And I think that if these people would have done that, if they had made room for understanding, it would have saved them so much emotional turmoil, and they wouldn't be projecting all of these emotions onto other people and having such, upsetting outcomes. When you meet somebody who is very judgmental or critical of you, you shouldn't take it to heart if you truly understand yourself and you understand that what they're saying isn't true. What do they know? Who are they to make judgments about you? Who are you to make judgments about others? Okay, that may be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably just make a part 2 because there's so much that I could say on this topic. At the end of the day, be open-minded and stop judging people. Stop assuming that people are gonna be a certain way or that situations are gonna happen a specific way. Go into them with confidence and authenticity, and I promise you, you will attract the right people. Okay, I think that's it. I love you. Even if you're super opinionated, keep being you. Keep spreading love. Goodbye. Oh, and subscribe. And like. Thanks.